The President has, as you know, now determined that the Geneva Convention does not apply to the conflict with al-Qaeda, whether in Afghanistan or elsewhere.
As both of us have said, that the release of the memos are not a time for retribution, but to reflect on what happened.
I do not want to say this. Absolutely torture. You do? Absolutely. I mean, that's drowning.
Hey, look at what happened to Ibn al-Sheikh al-Libi, apparently in a Libyan prison. He committed suicide. Huh, really? Isn't that interesting? The one guy that we know we got false information from, and we use that false information for its intended purposes, to drum up a war against Iraq, and he mysteriously shows up dead in a Libyan prison just about now, when people are talking about investigating torture further, whether it's in the Congress or through the Justice Department.
Big hole in the Pentagon. 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 Big hole in the Pentagon.
Have you read the 9/11 report and you think it's a piece of fiction?
No, I believe everything in it. I believe, my government's never lied to me, have they? Let's see, where should we start? The Gulf of Tonkin incident? Now that took us into war in Vietnam. They've now admitted it was a lie.
So the words, as I say, shit, piss, fuck, cunt, cocksucker, motherfucker, tits, fart, turd, and twat.
They save lives every day. We don't see a future ever for autonomous killing machines.
But some worry what might happen when scientists program machines with that most human trait of all, a desire for self-preservation.
We sort of program it to learn.
So it's artificially intelligent?
Yes.
Which begs the question, when a machine starts thinking on its own, does it ever stop?
According to a new poll, a majority of Americans now believe that George W. Bush isn't telling all about 9/11.
In New York City, nearly 2/3 of the population believes there is more to 9/11 than has been told.
The entire world's aware that Bush, Cheney, and Rumsfeld should be incarcerated.
You are an investigative reporter.
No, I'm not.
Oh, you're a reporter.
No, I am not.
So you check no facts at all, right?
No. I am a commentator. I am a commentator. I commentate on life.
Do you ever check your facts?
But
did the Bush administration use torture to try to obtain false confessions about a connection between Iraq and al-Qaeda that did not exist?
How could the buildings fall at the rate of gravity? Basic physics tells you that can't happen.
Yeah.
And how did the cement get so pulverized? Just simply from falling, it was blown into dust. What energy was required to pulverize all that cement? But I certainly question, and yet I'm attacked when I question. You notice how if you bring up 9/11 and they have any questions about it, immediately everyone attacks you over it, tells you you're crazy, calls you Rosie O'Donnell, insult you. Why? Because I ask questions?
You never want a serious crisis to go to waste.
Well, think about Earth. What if one of the old nation states, say Australia, had decided not to join the world government in 2150? Would that have disqualified us as a Federation member?
In all these decades, we've warned people. They've now admitted it all and are kind of coming out in the open, announcing they want a world government to control every facet of our lives. So this is world tyranny, world imperialism by a group of private banks that use command and control economies, socialist economies predominantly, to socialize the country's wealth, but then conduit that to the private bankers above them. So this is world domination by 130 of the richest royalty and financial oligarchs and industrial oligarchs in the world.
There's $1 million reward for anyone that can find a picture of the plane that hit the Pentagon. So find a picture of the plane, the fuselage, the wings, find a picture of the engines or the tail fin, find a picture of the luggage or the seats, find a picture of the bodies, nothing. Find a picture of any of that and you're a millionaire.
Continues to burn. I guess about 20, 30 minutes, sort of lost track of time. That whole middle section collapsed. That wasn't from the initial explosion, apparently from the great amount of fire there and the damage done when the plane hit.
So Hanford has 177 million-gallon tanks buried beneath the soil, and these tanks were the recipient of some of the high-level radioactive waste that came from the reprocessing of nuclear fuel. This is probably the most dangerous stuff on the planet ever. Very, very small quantities of this waste. And it's been said that a Dixie cup full of this waste in a crowded restaurant, everyone would be dead in the restaurant inside of an hour. Even the amount that would fit on the leg of a fruit fly is considered a problem dose, and that's happened at Hanford. Fruit flies have landed on contaminated materials and then flown off to go to the lunchroom and deposit contamination on food and on tables and whatnot, and they've had to evacuate a 20-acre area at the Hanford site because of hot fruit flies.
Now here's the Pentagon's expert telling you fact. You'll see this guy, you know, is distinguished military history, and he's got sores on his body from the depleted uranium.
What are the proper cleanup measures for uranium-238? Can these sites be adequately cleaned?
The cleanup procedures is you have to physically pick up the contaminated equipment, vehicle, or structure. But prior to do that, especially in a war, you have to unload all the unexploded munitions that are now extremely unstable. You have to remove all the hazardous materials that are out of there. Then what you have to do is either take that a facility like Barnwell, South Carolina. It's a multi-million-dollar facility. It took them 4 years to clean up 24 vehicles. Now, 4 years for 24 vehicles at a specialized facility? What about the thousands upon thousands of vehicles littering all the battle areas? Then once you get that vehicle removed, you have to take the soil down to 4 inches for 400-meter radius and dispose of that properly. You can't do it. I wish you could. I tried to develop, but you can't. Sir?
Are they using, in the United States, the uranium to shoot tanks on Earth? Will they practice their wording?
Yes, in certain areas they are. Yes, they are.
Are they cleaning that up?
No, sir, they're not.
So it's getting into the air, into the water, and
I wouldn't eat anything out of Chesapeake Bay for anything under my life because of all the contamination from both the chemical, biological, and especially the uranium coming from Aberdeen Proving Ground, Maryland.
The way that corporations can claim they're being discriminated against and use civil rights laws and the 14th Amendment to protect themselves. But I don't want this to sound like it's really a legalistic sort of strategy, because frankly, none of that makes any sense if everyone on the street doesn't understand that corporations have constitutional rights. This has got to become something that's, you know, like I said before, talked about in the laundromats, the way that separate but equal was once before it was overturned. People have to be aware of this and talk about it, and then it will find its way into various activist groups.